I'm Josey Wales.
I have heard. You're the Grey Rider. You would not make peace with the Bluecoats. You may go in peace.
The Outlaw Josey Wales is a 1976 American revisionist Western film set during and after the American Civil War. It was directed by and starred Clint Eastwood as Josey Wales, with Chief Dan George, Sandra Locke, Bill McKinney, and John Vernon. During the Civil War, Josey Wales is a Missouri farmer turned soldier who seeks to avenge the death of his family and gains a reputation as a feared gunfighter. At the end of the war, his group surrenders but is massacred, and Wales becomes an outlaw pursued by bounty hunters and soldiers. The film was adapted by Sonia Chernus and Philip Kaufman from author Asa Earls, Forrest Carter's 1972 novel The Rebel Outlaw Josey Wales, republished as shown in the movie's opening credits as Gone to Texas. The film was a commercial success, earning $31.8 million against a $3.7 million budget. In 1996, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. Josey Wales was portrayed by Michael Parks in the film's 1986 sequel, The Return of Josey Wales. His wife Laura Lee was played by Mary Ann Everett in the sequel. And some of that film was shot here in Kanab, Utah. Kanab, Utah is known as Little Hollywood due to its history as a popular filming location for westerns and other movies, with over 100 productions taking place there. The Little Hollywood Museum in Kanab preserves movie sets and artifacts from films like The Outlaw Josey Wales and Sergeants. Located around 10 miles east of Kanab off US 89, turn north onto Johnson Canyon Road and drive around 5 miles, and you'll see the remains of the film set on the right. The most accurate information on this site seems to be available online, including some historical photos and a filmography. Generally advertised as the setting for the series Gunsmoke, this location was undoubtedly built and used as a film set, but as far as can be told, it never was used as Dodge City in Gunsmoke, although it was used to film some episodes. The main location for Gunsmoke was Melody Ranch in Placerita Canyon, California. At least it was until the movie town burned down in 1962. And various locations around American Southwest were used for filming, including several ranches in Kanab. In any case, the Johnson Canyon set predates Gunsmoke by many years. The earliest record found of filming was in the 1930s, but nothing definitive regarding when the set was originally built. It does appear that the set was expanded and specific buildings were built and added to the site for various films, however, and also that several of these buildings have been removed. The existing buildings are largely in rough shape, and a heavy snow could probably collapse them, so if you want to see it while it's still standing, you should probably hurry up. Eastern State Penitentiary, located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, is one of the most historically significant prisons in the world. Opened in 1829, it was the first true penitentiary designed to inspire penitence and reform through solitary confinement. Its revolutionary Pennsylvania system emphasized isolation over punishment, with inmates housed in individual cells designed for reflection and rehabilitation. The prison's Gothic Revival architecture, designed by John Haviland, featured vaulted ceilings, skylit cells, and a radical floor plan that became a model for over 300 prisons worldwide. At its peak, it was the most expensive public structure ever built in the U.S. Notorious criminals such as Al Capone and Willie Sutton were among its inmates. Eastern State closed in 1971 and now operates as a museum and historic site, offering daily tours, exhibits, and educational programs that explore the history of incarceration and criminal justice reform. Visitors can explore the haunting ruins, taking audio or guided tours, and view powerful art installations that connect the prison's legacy to modern justice issues. Eastern State Penitentiary was one of the key filming locations of the movie 12 Monkeys. 12 Monkeys is a 1995 science fiction film directed by Terry Gilliam, starring Bruce Willis, Brad Pitt, and Madeline Stowe. It's a mind-bending story about time travel, memory, and fate, inspired by the 1962 French short film La Jetée. Set in the dystopian future of 2035, humanity has been forced underground after a deadly virus wiped out most of the population. James Cole, portrayed by Bruce Willis, is a prisoner, is selected to travel back in time to gather information about the virus before it mutated, so scientists can develop a cure. However, due to a glitch, he ends up in 1990 instead of 1996, and is institutionalized after ranting about a future plague. There he meets Jeffrey Goins, played by Brad Pitt, a mentally unstable activist, and Dr. Kathleen Riley, played by Madeline Stowe, a psychiatrist who becomes entangled in his mission. The mysterious army of the 12 Monkeys is initially believed to be responsible for the outbreak, but the truth is far more complex and tragic. In the film, when James Cole is mistakenly sent back to 1990 instead of 1996, he is arrested and committed to the mental institution. The scenes set in that asylum were filmed inside the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia. The prison's haunting, decaying architecture with its long, crumbling corridors and stark cells provided a perfect backdrop for the film's dystopian and disorienting tone. Rather than using heavy shadows, the filmmakers chose to light the scenes brightly, emphasizing the eerie emptiness and psychological tension of the setting. This location added a layer of realism and atmosphere that helped make 12 Monkeys visually unforgettable. The penitentiary's real-life history of solitary confinement and psychological strain also mirrored the film's themes of mental instability and isolation. Make sure you check out the link at the end for Ghost Town Living, who gets very in-depth to the locations in this area. Cerro Gordo is a historic ghost town located in the Inyo Mountains of California, once the state's largest producer of silver. Its name means Fat Hill in Spanish, a nod to the rich ore found there. The town was founded in 1865 after silver was discovered by Mexican prospector Pablo Flores, and it quickly grew into a bustling mining hub by the late 1860s. By 1869, Cerro Gordo was the top silver and lead producer in the U.S. The town had hundreds of buildings, including saloons, hotels, and a general store. It was known for its lawlessness, with frequent gunfights and rough living conditions. A major fire in 1877 and falling metal prices led to its decline. It saw a brief revival in the early 1900s for zinc mining before being mostly abandoned. Several movies have been filmed in Cerro Gordo and surrounding areas. Don't blink when watching Gladiator or you'll miss it. According to Brent Underwood, the owner, only 5 seconds of footage in this area was used for the Gladiator film. In 2018, entrepreneur Brent Underwood purchased Cerro Gordo for $1.4 million with plans to restore it as a tourist destination and preserve its Wild West legacy. Despite setbacks like a fire in 2020 that destroyed the historic American Hotel, Underwood has continued restoration efforts. As of 2025, a new structure has been completed, and the town is accessible via an 8-mile dirt road. 4-wheel drive recommended. The 2008 Marvel classic sees Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., kidnapped and held captive in the caves of Afghanistan, promoting him to invent his first Iron Man suit. But the scenes were actually filmed in the abandoned shafts of Cerro Gordo mines in Inyo County, California. Iron Man is a 2008 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name, produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Paramount Pictures. It is the first film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Directed by Jon Favreau, the film stars Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, Iron Man, alongside Terrence Howard, Jeff Bridges, Gwyneth Paltrow, Leslie Bibb, and Sean Tobe. In the film, following his escape from captivity by a terrorist group, Master Engineer Stark builds a mechanized suit of armor and becomes the superhero Iron Man. The film featuring Iron Man was in development at Universal Pictures, 20th Century Fox, and New Line Cinema at various times since 1990 before Marvel Studios reacquired the rights in 2005. Marvel put the project in production as its first self-financed film, with Paramount Pictures distributing. Favreau signed on as director in April of 2006 and faced opposition from Marvel when trying to cast Downey in the title role. The actor was signed in September. Filming took place from March to June of 2007, primarily in California, to differentiate the film from numerous other superhero stories that are set in New York City. During filming, the actors were free to create their own dialogue because pre-production was focused on the story and action. Rubber and metal versions of the armor created by Stan Winston's company were mixed with computer-generated imagery to create the title character. Iron Man premiered in Sydney on April 14th of 2008 and was released in the United States on May 2nd as the first film in Phase 1 of the MCU. It grossed over $585 million, becoming the 8th highest-grossing film of 2008, and received praise from critics, especially for Downey's performance, as well as Favreau's direction, the visual effects, action sequences, and writing. The American Film Institute selected it as one of the 10 best films of 2008. It received 2 nominations at the 81st Academy Awards for Best Sound Editing and Best Visual Effects. In 2022, the Library of Congress selected the film for preservation in the United States National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. 2 sequels have been released, Iron Man 2 in 2010 and Iron Man 3 in 2013. M.A.S.H. Mobile Army Surgical Hospital is a landmark American television series that aired from 1972 to 1983. Set during the Korean War, it follows the lives of doctors and staff at the 407th M.A.S.H. unit who use humor and compassion to cope with the brutal realities of war. The show blends comedy and drama, pioneering the dramedy genre and exploring themes such as the futility of war, mental health, and absurdities of military bureaucracy. The central character, Captain Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce, played by Alan Alda, is a brilliant but irreverent surgeon whose wit and humanity anchor the series. Other memorable characters include Major Margaret Houlihan, Corporal Klinger, Radar O'Reilly, and B.J. Honeycutt. The show evolved over time with cast changes and increasingly serious storylines. M.A.S.H. became a cultural touchstone, especially during the Vietnam War era, and its series final, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, remains one of the most watched television episodes in U.S. history. The show is widely praised for its writing, performances, and its ability to address serious issues with intelligence and heart. The outdoor scenes for M.A.S.H. were filmed at what is now Malibu Creek State Park in Calabasas, California, formerly known as the Fox Ranch. This location, nestled in the Santa Monica Mountains, served as the stand-in for the Korean War setting of the 407th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital from the 1972 to 1983 seasons. The land was owned by 20th Century Fox and used for various film and TV productions. The cast and crew worked in rugged conditions, using generators for power and portable toilets, which added to the realism of the show. The site is now a popular hiking destination. Visitors can see remnants of the set, including a restored signpost, vehicles, and interpretive panels with photos from the show. Trail Dust Town is a charming Old West theme attraction located in Tucson, Arizona, blending history, entertainment, and family fun. Founded in 1961, Trail Dust Town was originally built on the site of a never-completed 1951 Glen Ford movie set. It began as a retail shopping area and quickly became a local favorite with the opening of Pinnacle Peak Steakhouse in 1962. A fire in 1971 destroyed the original steakhouse, but it was rebuilt in 1972 and remains the centerpiece of the town. Over the decades, Trail Dust Town evolved into a full-fledged entertainment destination, adding amusement rides, live shows, and historical exhibits. Pistolorus Wild West Show, a live-action stunt show with comedy and cowboy flair, performed Friday through Sunday evenings. C.P. Huntington Railroad, a narrow-gauge train ride that loops through the town, complete with tunnels and themed scenario. Alan Herschel Carousel is a vintage 1954 merry-go-round with original horses and benches. Pollyant Park is a grassy area for families to relax and play, added in the 2010s. The Savoy Opera House, a historic venue used for banquets and events, formerly home to the Playbox Theater. In the Museum of the Horse Soldier, once housed here, it featured one of the largest public collections of U.S. cavalry artifacts before relocating in 2019. Blue Cloud Movie Ranch, located in Santa Clarita, California, is a 250-acre film production facility known for its versatile landscapes and custom-built sets. It lies within Los Angeles County's 30-mile zone, making it a convenient and cost-effective location for Hollywood productions. Notable productions filmed at Blue Cloud Movie Ranch: Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2 in 2023 and 2024, directed by Zack Snyder. The village of Velt was constructed on site, complete with a stream, stone bridge, and real wheat fields. Rebel Moon is a 2-part space opera film series directed by Zack Snyder, released on Netflix. Part 1, A Child of Fire, premiered in December of 2023, and Part 2, The Scar Giver, followed in April of 2024. Both films are now available in extended R-rated director's cut versions on Netflix, with additional scenes, increased violence, and a more mature tone. The director's cut versions are titled Rebel Moon Chapter 1, Chalice of Blood, and Rebel Rebel Moon Chapter 2, Curse of Forgiveness. Westworld on HBO. The story begins in Westworld, a fictional technologically advanced Wild West-themed amusement park populated by android hosts. The park caters to high-paying guests who may indulge their wildest fantasies within the park without fear of retaliation from the hosts, who are prevented by their programming from harming humans. Later on, the series setting expands to the real world in the mid-21st century, where people's lives are driven and controlled by a powerful artificial intelligence named Rehoboam, used for various outdoor scenes, quite rugged and remote terrain. SEAL Team on CBS frequently film military and desert scenes at the ranch. The series follows Bravo Team, a subunit of the United States Naval Special Warfare Development Group, the most elite unit of Navy SEALs, as they plan and undertake dangerous missions worldwide with little notice and the burden placed on them and their families. And Criminal Minds, NCIS Los Angeles, and other procedural dramas have also used the ranch for tactical or international settings. Waverly Hills Sanitarium, located in Louisville, Kentucky, was originally opened in 1910 as a small facility to treat tuberculosis patients during a time when the disease was ravaging the region. Due to the overwhelming number of cases, a much larger 5-story structure was completed in 1926, capable of housing over 400 patients. The hospital became known for its experimental and often painful treatments, including surgeries that involved removing ribs or parts of the lungs. One of the most infamous features of the building is the so-called body chute, a tunnel used to discreetly transport deceased patients away from the hospital to avoid alarming others. After the development effective antibiotics like streptomycin, the need for such sanitariums declined and Waverly Hills closed in 1961. In the decades since, it has gained a reputation as one of the most haunted places in the United States, with numerous reports of ghost sightings, unexplained sounds, and eerie experiences, particularly surrounding Room 502, where a nurse is said to have died under mysterious circumstances. Today, the building is privately owned and serves as a site for historical tours, paranormal investigations, and seasonal haunted attractions. While there have been plans to convert it into a hotel, those efforts have not yet come to fruition. Death Tunnel is a 2005 horror film directed by Philip Adrian Booth, inspired by the real-life Waverly Hills Sanitarium in Louisville, Kentucky. The story centers on 5 college women who are locked inside the abandoned Waverly Hills Sanitarium as part of a hazing ritual. Each woman is assigned to a different floor of the building, which is said to be haunted by the spirits of those who died there, over 60,000 victims of the White Plague, tuberculosis. As the night progresses, the women experience terrifying supernatural events, particularly in the infamous Death Tunnel, a real underground passage once used to discreetly remove bodies from the hospital. The film blends ghostly encounters with psychological horror as the characters uncover disturbing secrets about the sanitarium and their own connections to it. Death Tunnel received largely negative reviews. Critics and viewers often described it as derivative and confusing, with a disjointed plot and overuse of jump scares. While the setting was praised for its eerie authenticity, the film was criticized for weak character development and poor editing. It holds a low rating at IMDb at 2.6 out of 10 and has similarly poor reception on Rotten Tomatoes. The Viking village film set in Iceland is a unique and atmospheric replica of a traditional Viking settlement located at the foot of Vesterhorn Mountain on the Staknes Peninsula, near the town of Hopp in southeast Iceland. The village was originally constructed in 2009 as a set for a Viking-themed movie that was ultimately never filmed. Despite this, the site has become a popular tourist attraction due to its authentic design and dramatic setting. The structures were built using natural material like driftwood and old telephone poles, and they replicate traditional Icelandic turf houses with grass-covered roofs and carved wooden details. The wooden structures in the village are based on traditional Icelandic homes called turf houses. The roofs are made of thick layers of grass that provide insulation from the harsh climate. Other features include door frames with intricate Viking designs and a dungeon set at the base of a constructed boulder. The village offers an interesting perspective of how Vikings lived and the care they put into constructing their detailed tiled homes. Grass roofs provided shelter from the wind and cold temperatures. Visitors will find the village on a local family farm, but the entrance fee must first be paid at the family's nearby Viking cafe or self-service kiosk. It's a 10-minute walk from the cafe to the village. The gravel path is level and easy to navigate, but plan on wearing hiking boots and bring hiking poles if you need extra support. In 2022, the experience was extended with the recreation of a Viking ship, which now sits along the village's shore. The ship is a replica of the Gokstad ship, a long ship used for exploration, trade, and even warfare. The village lies between the ocean and the towering mountains, a perfect backdrop for a Viking film set. The unpredictable Icelandic weather contributes to the worn look of the buildings, adding to the village's mystique. Although the original film was never made, the set was later used in productions such as Netflix's The Witcher: Blood Origin. The following comes directly from the Ohio State Reformatory Preservation Society website. Design and construction. The Ohio State Reformatory was designed by Cleveland architect Levi Scottfield. Scottfield designed the striking limestone building to be an uplifting, inspiring, and intimidating structure. The reformatory was originally called the Intermediate Penitentiary, since it accepted inmates who were too old for juvenile corrections but had committed offenses more minor than those that sent others to the Ohio State Penitentiary. The facility admitted its first inmates in 1896 after 10 years of construction. Reformation and rehabilitation. The goal of the institution was truly to reform and rehabilitate its inmates, who received three things during their time at OSR: religion, education, and a trade. Inmates were admitted for 18 months, and if they showed progress, they could be released after that time. If not, they received another 18 months. The model was successful, and OSR had a high success rate and a low recidivism rate. Decline and resurrection. By the early 1960s, however, the state pulled its financial support from the reform model and began converting OSR into a maximum security facility, a purpose for which it was never intended. By the 1980s, the conditions had deteriorated to the point where the inmates sued the state of Ohio. The lawsuit was successful, and construction began on a new modern facility nearby. The reformatory was finally closed in 1990. It sat empty for several years until local activists rallied to purchase the building from the state for $1 and committed to repairing and restoring this historic structure. Today's Ohio State Reformatory. The Mansfield Reformatory Preservation Society is a nonprofit overseen by a volunteer board, and every donation goes directly to the maintenance and restoration of the building. The reformatory houses the official Ohio State Corrections History Museum. It's a popular site for ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts, hosts numerous special events, and as of 2018 welcomes more than 120,000 visitors per year. The building's striking architecture is a favorite choice for filmmakers. A number of films and music videos have been made at OSR over the years, with The Shawshank Redemption as the best known and most widely loved. Other films include Harry and Walter Go to New York, Tango and Cash, Air Force One, Escape Plan, The Extractors, and Judas and the Black Messiah. The Shawshank Redemption is a 1994 American prison drama film written and directed by Frank Darabont, based on the 1982 Stephen King novella Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. The film tells the story of banker Andy Dufresne, played by Tim Robbins, who is sentenced to life in Shawshank State Penitentiary for the murders of his wife and her lover, despite his claims of innocence. Over the following 2 decades, he befriends a fellow prisoner, contraband smuggler Alice Red Redding, portrayed by Morgan Freeman, and becomes instrumental in a money laundering operation led by the prison warden Samuel Norton, played by Bob Gutton. William Sadler, Clancy Brown, Jill Bellows, and James Whitmore appear in supporting roles. Darabont purchased the film rights to King's story in 1987, but development did not begin until 5 years later, when he wrote the script over 8 weeks. 2 weeks after submitting his script to Castle Rock Entertainment, Darabont secured a $25 million budget to produce The Shawshank Redemption, which started pre-production in January of 1993. While the film is set in Maine, principal photography took place from June to August 1993 1953 almost entirely in Mansfield, Ohio, with the Ohio State Reformatory serving as the eponymous penitentiary. The project attracted many stars for the role of Andy, including Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, and Kevin Costner. Thomas Newman provided the film's score. While The Shawshank Redemption received critical acclaim upon its release, particularly for its story and the performances of Robbins and Freeman, it was a box office disappointment, earning only $16 million during its initial theatrical run. Many factors were attributed to its failure at the time, including competition from the films Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump, the general unpopularity of prison films, its lack of female characters, and even the title, which was considered confusing for audiences. It went on to receive multiple award nominations, including 7 Academy Award nominations, and a theatrical re-release that, combined with international takings, increased the film's box office gross to $73.3 million. Over 320,000 VHS rental copies were shipped throughout the United States, and on the strength of its awkward nominations and word of mouth, it became the top video rental of 1995. The broadcast rights were acquired following the purchase of Castle Rock Entertainment by Turner Broadcasting System, and it was shown regularly on the TNT network starting in 1997, further increasing its popularity. Decades after release, the film is still broadcast regularly and is popular in several countries, with audience members and celebrities citing it as a source of inspiration or naming it a favorite in various surveys, leading to its recognition as one of the best loved films by audiences. In 2015, the United States Library of Congress selected the film for preservation in the National Film Registry, finding it culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. The Great Gatsby is a 2013 historical romantic drama film based on the 1925 novel by F. Scott Fitzgerald. The film was co-written and directed by Baz Luhrmann and stars an ensemble cast consisting of Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, Carey Mulligan, Joel Edgerton, Isla Fisher, Jason Clarke, and Elizabeth Debicki. Filming took place from September to December of 2011 in Australia with a $105 million net production budget. The film follows the life and times of millionaire Jay Gatsby, played by DiCaprio, and his neighbor Nick Carraway, played by Maguire, who recounts his interactions with Gatsby amid the righteous parties of the jazz age on Long Island in New York. A polarizing film among critics, The Great Gatsby received both praise and criticism for its visual style, direction, screenplay, performances, soundtrack, and interpretation of the source material. Audiences responded more positively, and Fitzgerald's granddaughter praised the film, stating Scott would have been proud. As of 2023, it is Luhrmann's highest-grossing film, grossing over $353 million worldwide. At the 86th Academy Awards, the film won in both its nominated categories, Best Production Design and Best Costume Design. The following is from the official ICMS website. Towering turrets and lofty spires are the hallmarks of the imposing building, now home to the International College of Management in Sydney, Australia, the ICMS, fondly known as the Castle on the Hill. The ICMS building is a manly landmark dating back to the 19th century. The imposing structure dominating the northern Sydney's beachside suburbs landscape won worldwide acclaim when it was built by the Catholic Church between 1885 and 1889. As ICMS faculty, staff, and students take the college in the 21st century, the building itself, originally known as St. Patrick's College, is a site of exceptional historical and cultural significance. Established as the first national Catholic seminary in Australia in 1889, and the Archbishop's residence, located on the southern part of the precinct, was designed as a blend of neo-Gothic and Romanesque styles. Award-winning architecture, the stone building is 4 stories high with a 6-level central bell tower and a slate roof. The 2-story colonnade flanks the central entrance. Land on North Head Reserve was granted to the Catholic Church by the Australian government to build a seminary in 1859, but it was only in 1885, under the direction of Sydney's 3rd Archbishop, Cardinal Patrick Morgan, that work began. Well-known 19th century architects Joseph Sheeran and John John Hennessy designed the seminary in a blend of neo-Gothic and Romanesque styles. The designs of the architects were outstanding, and the pair were awarded a medal for the architecture at the London's Colonial and Indian exhibit in 1886. Memorial Chapel in St. Teresa's Convent. Over 20 years after Cardinal Morin's death in 1911, the Cardinal Surratt Memorial Chapel and St. Teresa's Convent was built. These extensions, built 40 years after the seminary in 1934 and 35, complement the seminary in Gothic style, materials, and details. St. Teresa's Convent, originally built to provide accommodation for the Order of Our Lady Help of Christians, is currently used as the head office of ICMS. It was designed by Ernest A. Scott of Green and Scott Architects. Kelly House. The next building on the site in 1954 was a response to cope with increasing student numbers. Kelly House was opened in the year in which St. Patrick's College graduates reached a total of 1,000 since its foundation. It was named after Archbishop Michael Kelly, Archbishop of Sydney from 1911 to 1940. Michael Kelly succeeded Morin in 1911, still favoring the idea of a college as a national seminary, but for various reasons, including resource allocation and war, the idea came to an end. In the preceding year, the Recreation Center, later to become the Cardinal Freeman Pastoral Care Center, was added as Manly and St. Columbus's was established in 1909 at Springwood to train missionaries. The parish of St. Mary Immaculate and St. Athanasius, which was probably included with the seminary, was made independent in 1918, and the present church was established in Whistler Street, Manly, on the site where a church was first built 50 years before. To mark the Eucharistic Congress in 1928, the Blessed Sacrament was taken in procession from Manly to the city on board a ferry. The procession attracted visitors from overseas as well as locals. From St. Patrick's Seminary to the ICMS, student numbers outstripped accommodations, but by the 1960s, considerations including decreasing student numbers and increased maintenance costs eventually led to the seminary relocating in 1995 to inner suburban Homebush as the Seminary of the Good Shepherd. The seminary is now home to ICMS, Center for Excellence of a Different Kind, although its history is marked in many ways. The names of the original architects, Shireen and Hennessy, are inscribed on the windows on either side of the front entrance. The ICMS campus is now just 17 minutes by fast ferry from the city of Sydney, with an additional venue located in the heart of the city. Students from around the world are attracted to Manly campus, creating a diverse mixture of students and a global context to the classroom experience. From its origin in 1996 as a specialized college of education, today ICMS has more than 1,300 students from around the world gaining qualifications in a diverse range of fields. At ICMS, the mission is to provide students with an exceptional education and the much valued skills set to gain a competitive edge and to exceed.